Hello and welcome back to a video where am I getting over a cold? Yes. So do I probably sound a little weird? 100%. But honestly, I just didn't want to push this off because for once in my life, I'm feeling motivated. So apologies for my nose. But today we are talking about kind of a life lesson. That might be a little dramatic, but things that I learned about myself and was taught largely about myself while reading these 3 books. And these are not self-help books. These are not books about really anything educational. So that's why I thought it'd be interesting to discuss them. I've been trying to get myself to get back into reading off and on for like months, if not years, quite frankly. I, growing up, was an avid reader. I would read all the time. My pace was generally like a book a day, or at least every 2 to 3 days. Did you ever as a child get yelled at for reading too much, in that it literally forced you to not want to do anything else? Because if you did, you're also a loser, like I was. I've been trying to get back into reading, and a few weeks ago I went on a road trip. Small road trip. It was just a little trip. Can I say trip one more time? And I brought some books because I was motivated to read them. Actually, do I have it here? Honestly, this was the book, Felix Ever After, that I swear cured my reading slump. Like, I that's not a joke. Like, this book cured my reading slump. I finished it. I was like all in the feels and was ready to keep reading. But I was not in my home. I was at someone else's house, and I had finished the only book I brought day 1 of being there. And so I literally was like, guys, I gotta go to the thrift store right now and get more books, because if I don't jump on this, I will never read again. That's not the truth, but that's what it felt like. So the 3 books I got from the thrift store were Coyote, Cowgirl by Kim Antieau, Say Nothing by Brad Parks, which, talk about an intimidating book cover, maybe, yes. And The Night Gardener by George Pellacanos. Is naming conventions, is speaking my specialty? Not in any way, as I'm proving currently. Right off the bat, Coyote Cowgirl was definitely one I was most intrigued in. I read the dust jacket and I was like, wow, I think this is going to be amazing. And spoiler alert, it was my favorite out of the 3 of them. And I will go through my review of the 3 of them in 2 seconds. But the thing I learned that really just hit me hard as a reader was how much my reading style has changed and how much my viewpoint towards reading has changed, and all of the above. And that might sound really, really obvious and dumb, and that's fine, but honestly, I do feel like there's such a weird perception of what reading should and shouldn't be, what people should and shouldn't be reading, and all of that. And at the end of the day, this just instilled in me that there are so many books. There are so many books that exist. So many books, that why does it feel like I should be reading these, not be reading these? I need to read all of them. I need to read this and that. Like, why does it feel that way? When really reading should be what you need at that moment. And I've just realized at this current point in my life, I quite literally don't want books that I'm struggling to get through. Like, I want to enjoy my experience. I'm not saying it can't like have content in it that is like difficult to read, but I'm not here to like drudge through a book just because, and so I can say I finished it, which I will say I had to do a little bit to get through these books. Not anymore. I'm becoming very picky, and I think that's a good thing. Really, this all comes down to just knowing yourself and eventually learning what you like and don't like, and those things will change, and that's all good. Like, that's all positive to me. So let's go through in order of which I read it. First was The Night Gardener, and I honestly, why did I pick this up? I picked this up because the, synopsis did sound interesting. and it said that the writer George Pellacanos is the writer of The Wire, which I have never seen, but when I said that, my fiance Spencer was like, yo, we want to watch that show. That's pretty cool that he's a writer for that. And I was like, cool, I'll read it. And I start reading it, and I struggled to finish this book. In my opinion, without giving too much away, there was just too many characters being jumped between, like too many. Like I couldn't keep track of who was who, and like just couldn't keep up with the names. There were too many names, too many complicated, like it was just, I couldn't keep track of anything. Like I had to like reread stuff like 5 times to be like, who is that again? And it just jumped around so chaotically, in my opinion. And in the end, the book was about a bunch of men who like didn't want to ever, who always needed to be the person with the correct opinion and would never bend to what anyone else said. But then you would hear their inner monologue and they would like admit to themselves that like so and so actually might have had a point to what they were saying. That was genuinely all I took away from this book. And when I finish a book, I like to sit on it and think about it and be like, how did that really make me feel? Because I always have a gut reaction, but then it's like, when I actually think about it further, how does it make me feel? And I actually only got angrier as I thought about it more. So yeah, I was just so over. I would not recommend this to anyone. I just didn't. I found it so frustrating to read. So frustrating. Book number 2, Coyote, Cowgirl. I actually love this book. I wouldn't say it was perfect. Not that I have any true like literary education besides general public school, but the timeline of this was very confusing to me at points. Not in that it like didn't make sense, but it felt like we just like really jumped at points and like kind of just didn't acknowledge jumping. Like we were a little scatterbrained in like what's going on, but otherwise loved it. Like fantastic experience reading this. I have come to realize like this really framed what I'm seeing as my future in enjoying reading, is bits of magic, whether it's like truly like magic or just like very like fantasy inspired. Like a lot of like I love when books have characters that see nature as magic. Like they see nature as like this beautiful thing. Like I do really love that form of writing, and this has parts of that. It does also have parts of like magic, but very little. Like if you're too into like none of it's real, I still think you would enjoy this. It's amazing family stories. The truth about how difficult family can be, even when it appears like literally perfect. I guess this kind of has Encanto vibes. Like if you've watched the movie Encanto, a lot of it, not a lot, but very, very, very similar experience to this. But I loved reading this. It's so heartwarming. It's just very like find yourself, family issues, experiencing the world, blah, blah, blah. That's really it. I thought it was magic. And the back comes with some recipes that they talk about in the book, and part of me wants to like make 1 or 2 or at least take note of them. So we'll see. But I really, really, really love this book, and I would absolutely recommend it to people to read it as well. And the last book that I literally finished early this morning was Say Nothing by Brad Parks. And let me tell you, this book is chonky. 400 and like what, 38 pages? Yeah, 438 pages. 438 pages for a murder mystery, crime, true novel, like crime, true novel, crime novel, whatever. And this isn't really giving anything away. If you read the dust jacket, it'll tell you this as well. Page one, maybe 2, is the main character. The whole story revolves around this couple and their kids get abducted. That happens page 1. And then for 437 pages, we're trying to find these children. 437 pages dedicated to something that happened on page 1. It just like blew my mind a little bit that like I didn't even think the pacing of the story was bad. Like I struggled for like a little bit to get into it. I struggled for probably about 20 to 30 pages, which is pretty good for 438 pages for me to only struggle for like that bit of time. But I was just so in shock that like, is this gonna make sense that I'm worrying about something that happened right away for 438 pages? Like it just felt like it could have been at least 100 pages less. And having read it, I actually enjoyed it. Like I did actually enjoy this. And I'm not gonna lie, the ending had me crying. I was physically crying, and Spencer was like, you literally were struggling to read this and now you're crying. And I was like, well, yeah, that's reading, my friend. I enjoyed you are primarily from the viewpoint of the husband in the family who is a judge, federal judge, I think, maybe that's not correct. I think he's a federal judge for the state of Virginia. I did enjoy it. You were mostly from his viewpoint, but then every now and then you'd be in the viewpoint of the kidnappers of the children, but it was all very vague. So like, I'm not joking, I had no clue what was like, you truly as a reader had no clue what was going on until the very, very end when the judge starts to put it together, which I enjoyed. I don't often have like a crime thing like totally throw me off, and I was honestly stressed it would throw me off so much that it wouldn't make sense. It did make sense, but it like, you're there like you feel just as lost. Even though you have pieces from the kidnappers, it's so vague, you're still just as lost as the judge. Like between the two murder mysteries, would definitely recommend this one over the other one. Honestly, I could, just because I've watched like every true crime show ever, this could literally be like a mini series or a movie, honestly, and I think it would be really good. I've just learned I just don't want that to be my main reading intake anymore. So yeah, I think I'm just taking a step away from like true crime, which isn't, again, crazy. I think it's just one of those things where it's like we all kind of like feel like this is just what we should do for whatever reason. Like I know there's a ton of pressure to read the classics, which if you're into that, by all means. Like at the end of the day, I feel like reading is so much better when you just do what you like to do, which can be said for anything. But I know reading has this really weird set of expectations tied to it that like you should do it this way or that way. And that's ridiculous. Like that is ridiculous. In the end, there are so many books that exist and so many more that are being written every single day that I don't see what's worth it in trudging through books you're just not liking, that are not working for you. And there's like bound to be something else out there for you. I mean, even what I just showed today is like such a small scale of like options, and it's all just about experimenting, being okay with not liking things, and you can even like deep dive and assess why you don't like them, or you can just say this wasn't for me and move on. It really is that easy. Yeah, that's it. It's all about, I think it's all part of like, it really is in a way about learning more about yourself, even maybe not intentionally doing it, but it's just like you just know what you like and you don't like, and it happens and it grows and it changes and evolves, and that is all positive things in my opinion. So I would definitely recommend Coyote Cowgirl. If you're into true crime mystery, I would recommend Say Nothing. Personally would not recommend Night Gardener, but by all means, it might be your favorite book. Totally fine. Happy for you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and if you have any book recommendations for me, let me know. Anything like, what's your feel-good book? What's your I love to read this kind of thing? Let me know. That would be so fun, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.